Hello viewers, Super GT here, and yes, you're reading that right. I'm finally back on iRacing. It's been a very long time. I think it's been about 5 or 6 months since I last played this. But finally we return. And we return at a very, very good time. Because here we are at Summit Point Raceway for the BMW Fixed. So I used to do Ferrari Fixed. I used to love that series. And I've come back, it's changed to BMW Fixed. And it's none other than the hefty chonk, the BMW M8. I mean, look at the size of it. This is going to be a tricky old race. 20 insanely mad lads racing around Summit Point. Not much space for this car, but let's see how this goes. Starting 13th on the grid. Not getting the best getaway away from, I was going to say the line, but we're not really on the line. But we do cross the line now. And hopefully this race can settle down, we can make up some positions. So qualifying in 13th. First race back in a long time. I did about half an hour practice going into this. Probably not enough if we're honest. iRacing does require that extra amount of time. And already my return is really not going to plan at all. Or maybe it is. As you might have just seen that in the mirror. That guy behind just tapped the rear quarter panel, and I felt as though I was hanging over to the right hand side, but obviously not enough as we get sent spinning round to the back of the field. And that just shows you the unforgiving nature of iRacing, and in a way I really like that. I like that. A couple more cars here spinning around, and as we can kind of guess, around Summit Point, that is to be expected. Very tight twisty circuit. One you'd normally associate with MX-5s. At least I always remember doing this track in the MX-5s when you first get iRacing. But in the M8 it's very much a different circuit, a lot faster of course. Coming down the main straight then, side by side with someone. There he is. As I'm just going to let him go. I'm not going to take too many risks here. Other than going a little bit deep on the brakes. He does brake quite early, and here I think that's completely my fault. I just squeezed him a little bit too much against the apex. And these are the little things that I'm going to have to get used to. I'm going to have to improve at, as you can't really get away with that kind of thing on iRacing, squeezing people like that. You do have to be a little bit more careful. And it's just that rustiness that I have, having not played this for a fair amount of time. So that is something that I'm going to have to work on, have to improve and get better at. But here the race has settled down, and you can see a nice big battle up ahead, about 8-car train here. So a nice long fight, up until this point, where I couldn't quite react in time to that guy, and unfortunately, my steering was completely bent. You can see that I'm going in a straight line, but my steering wheel was going to the left. Obviously not ideal. So we get the black flag with the orange disc, mechanical failure. We have to come into the pit lane and repair that, and also repair our pit guy's legs as I run him over. Okay then, on to the next race. We're going to go again. We've had a bit of practice there, I suppose. A bit of practice running into people and getting ran into. But it's all good. Well, it's not all good, but... Well, you know what? Experience is good. Even if it's bad experience, it's good. Because you always learn from it. Or you should do anyway. Most of the time I don't. But this is my qualifying lap for the second race. And after getting used to the track, looking on YouTube for a couple of pointers as well, and trying to improve our time. So in the first session I've got a 106.3 or something. I can definitely do a 105 on the brakes nice and gently. The thing I'm getting used to, I think, is just the brakes. Because on Gran Turismo you can just slam the pedal. But on here you do have to threshold brake in that 70% pressure. Just trying to get used to that a little bit more. Trying not to lock up, of course. And once you get going in this game, in this sim, it really does feel good. You really do get immersed in it, and I'm very much enjoying it. Very, very quick for the final corner. Well, there's probably some iRacing experts who will debate that. Across the line, and it's a 105.4, and I'm really pleased with that. And the second lap wasn't quite as quick, but only 0.2 off, so decent-ish consistency there. Quite happy with that. And that put us second for this race. albeit a slightly lower split because I did leave that first one as we got that damage and there's basically no chance. I should really just stay in the race, shouldn't I, to preserve my rating. Sometimes I think I just want to back out and just practice on my own for a bit. Pace car goes off and then the leader immediately bolts and I almost cut off the guy behind. Very, very nearly cause a collision. Just back out in time. So my reaction speed wasn't as good as it could have been there. The leader getting a good margin already, nearly a second as we go into turn 1. So we're side by side. Someone have to be careful here. Leave a bit more space here, as you can see. Don't quite do what we did on the first race, running them a little bit too narrow. Okay, so concede the position, most sensible thing to do. Going down into third. The race is, I was going to say a long race, it's not a long race really, it's only 12 minutes, so about 11 laps or 12 laps, not very long at all. And around Summit Point it's very difficult to overtake, but if the guy ahead of you does this, then it is easy to overtake, so everyone's basically just overtaken me. What a stupid mistake, just a little bit too much brake pressure, locked up the rears, sent me spinning. Very, very silly mistake, but like I mentioned in the first race, I kind of like how unforgiving this is and how much of a test it is. Look at that, just a tiny, tiny mistake really, but with big, big consequences. Cheeky bit of chase cam here for you. Sim enthusiasts, look away. Okay, we turn up to the third race. By now, we should know what we're doing. Qualifying went okay. Again, a slightly lower split. I did a 105.9. The pole position time was 105.7. So, you know, if I could have just done my 105.4 that I did in the previous qualifying, then I would be on pole. But alas, it's not to be. I'm going to have to fight through from here. 6th place on the grid. Trying to get a better start this time. Controlled by the leader, and away we go. And again, not the best reaction, although the guys behind don't get a good reaction either. So, not so much of an immediate threat of being overtaken into turn 1. Qualified 6th on the grid, my natural position. Down to turn 1 there, just trying to improve on that brake as we go into turn 1, almost into the back of the green car ahead. But we settle into position and just try to churn out some more laps in this one, as we haven't really done too many laps so far. First race, about 3 or 4 laps. Second race, half a lap, even if that. So this one, we're going to try to make it the race distance, ideally. And I would like to play this a lot more. I always say that, but this experience here was really good, even though I was pretty hopeless for the most part. Once you really get into these races, my god, it is so fun. It's so immersive. It really is. So very, very realistic, very immersive, and something I very much do enjoy. But you do have to put quite a lot of time in to make sure that you're up to scratch. And the guy ahead just goes for the move. It doesn't quite pay off for him. Contact. I'm going to lose momentum. The guy's going to overtake him on the right hand side. And looking in the mirror as well, I'm going to have to cover the inside just to make sure he doesn't go up the inside the next guy. So covering the inside. We gain 2, courtesy of the 2 who were ahead, slamming into each other, and then we lose 1. Okay, so up into 5th. Try to get past this guy as quickly as we can. Technically he should be slower than me, given that he qualified behind, but Summit Point Raceway, quite a narrow circuit, difficult to overtake. I would say the best place would be turn 1. This little sequence here, I mean, that's a risky move usually into this turn, because you don't normally always approach from the far right hand side, normally kind of in the centre of the track. It really does require a very brave and precise lunge if you want to get it done at that point of the track. Through here, this is a possible overtaking opportunity into the final corner, not that corner we've just gone through. You need to set yourself up there. It's not too long a run though, so you're really relying on a mistake from the person ahead. And on this point here, not quite close enough. Guy ahead actually getting a good exit out of the final turn. I'm okay with that as long as we can start gaining on the guys ahead, and then you know, I'm not too unhappy. The main thing here is just to try to get back on terms with the group at the front, as we all had fairly similar qualifying times, and I'm fairly confident I could have gone quicker, but then again they could have gone quicker as well, you never know. Okay, so down in towards this fast left-hander here. You can shift down to 3rd. I prefer to keep it in 4th, slightly more stable, 1 less gear change to worry about. Here as well, Going up to 5th, but I think actually staying in 4th is the best. Just riding the curb, and that's actually not too good for unsettling the car. It actually does unsettle the car quite a lot, so not always the most ideal thing to do. So you do have to be careful about that. And it's these little nuances, the tiny little differences, the things I'm used to doing in Gran Turismo, where you can just slaughter the curbs and you can make side-to-side contact with other cars, and it doesn't really affect you too much. But here, they, those kind of things can have fatal consequences, so you don't want to do those things too much. Okay, so a slightly better run here in the slipstream. Is he going to start defending? He moves over to the middle, moves back to the left. Doesn't really go fully defensive. So we've got the inside line hit. Lay on the brakes, up the inside. Don't shoot too wide, a little bit. I was thinking he was going to come back at me there, but he doesn't. So we're up into 4th position. You see the top 3 just up ahead there. They've begun to spread out. And that's normally bad news, as they're not going to be fighting each other too much. But all we can do is just try to catch up with this guy in 3rd and try to overhaul as quickly as possible. Just grazing the curb that time, doesn't unsettle the car too much. Riding the camber here, so a lot of these corners have these little, I don't know how to describe it, they have camber. And you have to kind of really hook up with those sections, and it really does fling you around the turn a lot better. This sequence here, really good when you get it right. Committing early to that last bit, powering out onto this second to last straight, over the crest, and then down 1 gear, just feed it in. A little bit too much curve there on the power. You can use all of that tarmac beyond the curb. So just working out again another difference between some of the different sims. Some sims will let you run the tarmac, some won't. Some give you a penalty, some won't. You just have to work it out for yourself exactly what you can and can't get away with. So at this point, 2.2 seconds off of 3rd. Just shy of 5 seconds off the lead, or just over 5 seconds now. For this fast sweeping left-hander, that's how you take it. That's a bit better now. Trying to catch up as quickly as we can. 2nd and 3rd definitely within sight as we come into this left-hander once again on lap number 5. And the consistency was decent. You'll see that throughout the course of this race. Lapping, I'll say about half the laps, or more than half the laps, were low 106s, and quite a few of them 106.0s. And it's just that consistency which I'm trying to improve as we almost lose control. But the car in front does lose control. He just went a little bit too wide on the curb and just couldn't. In fact, he did correct it, but corrected it too much. Spins out the other way. So we get a position for 3, moving up into 3rd place as we cross the line at the end of lap 5 onto 6. And we've got Jose Barcala, apologies for completely butchering your name. We've got him 2.6 seconds ahead, still 5 seconds off the lead. So it looks like we've pinned the leader at about 5 seconds, and he's not really gaining too much more. It might be quite an ask though for us to catch up with the lead, as we don't have too many laps in which to do it. It is pretty much a sprint race, this. It really is not an endurance by any stretch of the imagination. Down into the complex section now. This is really a very technical area, and lots of corners leading into each other. So you have to kind of really prioritise normally the latter corner as we come flying through here, and then really on the power nice and early before you get to the curb, using all of the curb on the exit. Just try not to, of course, do what that guy did in the previous lap and spin out completely. Okay, so final turn, lap number 6, pretty much halfway into the race then, as we exit out the turn. 2.2 seconds off the lead, 4.8 for the lead, 2.2 away from the guy in front, and the guy behind is about 0.8 behind, so not too far actually. And coming into this corner, again riding the cam difference through turn 1, and that's a good exit, 1.8 behind, gaining a couple of tenths here and there against this guy in front, and you can just see the visual reference. You don't even have to look at the relative at the bottom right. You can just see that you're getting closer as we come through this right-hander. Just getting that a little bit better this time. And it just shows you, I think, in iRacing, you can't really just jump in and expect to do well if you haven't been playing it for a long time. You do have to really, you really do have to practice and get used to it a lot more. So this is the 3rd race, and only by now am I actually getting back into the swing of things. As it is not easy just to be consistent for a good 10-12 laps without making a silly mistake, without practice. So that is something I have to do a lot more going forward. Across the line, still 2 seconds to second, 4.9 first, so fairly static gaps. Now coming into turn 1, going a little bit wide, not the best first corner, and the guy behind 0.7 behind. Sometimes the mirror does look a bit weird. It's like when they're like 0.7, 0.6 behind, really too narrow there. When they're like 0.6, 0.7 behind, they look really distant, but then as soon as they get about 0.3, 0.2, they get really close. It sort of has this weird exponential magnifying effect in the mirror. And you can see in the mirror now, a lot more pixels are being taken up by the guy in 4th place as he gets about as close as he's ever been in this race. So I was looking slightly on the front foot there, but then on this lap the gap goes back up to 2.6 to the guy ahead, so a lot of the hard work in the previous few laps has just been undone with those couple of mistakes. It's just that consistency I just don't quite have just yet, but I'm still enjoying it. That's the main thing. As long as you're enjoying it, then you can't complain too much, I suppose. Now we're going to whip forward this lap. Unfortunately, this isn't true speed. I'm actually fast forwarding this. I'm not that quick. As we come through the final corner, this is lap number 9, and you see the gap actually comes back down to about 1.7. So a decent couple of laps here. I think I'm definitely quicker than the guy ahead. I'm just maybe not as consistent with a couple of little mistakes. But lap 10, entering the last couple of stages of the race, or laps of the race, 106.1 last time around. So still lapping at that low 106 kind of area, which could be quicker, of course. In the qualifying, I was quite pleased with my 105.4. A lot of the really quicker guys in the practice session were doing that high 104, so not a million miles off, I suppose. Still a long way to go, and I suppose it is only a short circuit as well. So around like an F1 length circuit, that would be more like a second a lap. But okay, here we go then. White flag. 1 lap to go, and actually we are as close as we have ever been to the guy ahead. He definitely began to make some mistakes. And this is something that can happen when you start looking at the relative too much and you see that the car behind is gaining, and it can really force you into some mistakes, and he actually locks up at turn 1. So we actually have a faint chance here of going for second place. First place is long gone. There's no chance of that unless he bins himself or a backmarker kills him, which you never know, could happen, but I'm not going to rely on it. Runs a little bit wide there. He's going to slow down firmly in the slipstream, coming into the right-hander, go for a lunge of the century. Not quite going to happen through there. Right on him. It's most certainly taking up many pixels in his mirror now. A little bit wide through this right-hander. Goes on forever, this bit, and just looking for a mistake now, because it's going to be really difficult, and I commit a little bit too late for this one. And he's actually had a really good corner there. He's going to just slightly pull away towards the final turn of the lap and of the race, and as we come sweeping through, he's done it. He's kept second place, but it was good just to try to catch up with him and maybe have a chance. But we're going to come across the line to finish 3rd, so I'm happy with that, to finally actually finish the race, and not only that, finish it on the podium. So my first couple of races back in iRacing, obviously not going to plan completely. A couple of DNFs, a couple of incidents. Not ideal, but I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it. And iRacing, this is something that I keep saying I want to do, but I just actually need to do it. And this BMW fix, I think I can see myself playing this quite a lot. This series in particular, but also a lot of the other GT, the VRS, Endurance, and mainly the things with the GT cars, as I really do enjoy racing those. But I do hope you enjoyed this video. Please do let me know your thoughts, as always, of course, and maybe just let me know your thoughts on iRacing in general, and just series that you would like to see me do, because I'm always interested to see what people think and what they want to see. And well, have a nice day, everyone. I shall see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.